we have another press conference right now by Jubilee that is actually at Parliament, just responding to the NASA press conference that has just happened. We just want to switch briefly there, then we'll be coming back for this conversation.
This work to continue uninterrupted should the chairman or any of the commissioners is indisposed. Yesterday, we had the concerns expressed by our diplomatic partners on the timelines of these changes, or even that they polarize the country even more than it is at the moment. We would like to remind our diplomats that NASA and its allies undertook a determined campaign to change electoral law through the courts. In the months leading to the election, they sued the IEBC and related bodies almost 50 times. The impact was to delay and disorganize the IEBC, as has been acknowledged by the EU Observer Mission preliminary statement. The rest of the statement will be led by my colleague.
Yes, the amendments we support are being pursued legally and constitutionally in Parliament. We were sent by our constituents to Parliament to legislate on their behalf and in the best interest of the country, and it is what we are doing. As a matter of fact, the amendments only respond to the gaps identified in the hearing of the NASA petition by the Supreme Court. They will ensure that the voter is protected and the process is made more transparent than it is today. We are grateful to have strong allies and friends in the nations whose diplomats spoke to the country yesterday. We know that we share the pursuit of democratic life, that we work together to strengthen the peace and security, and that our economic relations are key to the prosperity of our constituents. But we regret their mention of international best practices in relation to the situation we find ourselves in. This is extraordinary circumstance. They will be the first to admit that none of their countries has ever had presidential election nullified, meaning that those international best practices may have had no occasion to be shaped in this kind of constitutional and legal moment in Kenya. Our responsibility as Kenyans is to note the lessons from all over the world, but ultimately we must forge on our own path and use our own constitution and our political understanding in line with our experiences by listening to our people. We would have been happy for distinguished diplomats to note that international best practices do not subscribe to NASA's political provocation and threats. It is not an international best practice for a major national political party to accept its senior officials to speak up for secession and separation as the cost to the nation, as they did not win an election. It is not an international best practice for a presidential candidate to identify by name IBC officials and is demanding their resignation. Tell them to run because Kenyans are coming for them. This is what Raila is on record saying. It is added to what we believe is an incitement to the kind of vigilantism that led to women being attacked in Kisumu Hotel while trying to have a meeting to fight gender violence.
It is not international best practice for NASA to turn its back on the Supreme Court's decision that there shall be fresh election. Nor is it best practice for NASA to continue using every platform to attack the IBC, reputable businesses, and any other institution related to the elections. It is certainly not international best practice for NASA to seek to find a way to drive this country into a crisis so that they can try and force an unconstitutional change in government that allows them nusu mkate. Finally, there are legal threats issued by no one but the person of Honorable David Maraga, the Chief Justice and the President of the Supreme Court, that unless irregularities witnessed in the annual elections are addressed, the court will not hesitate to invalidate another election. These are threats, serious issues, enough to send this country's legislative organ to act and act swiftly to run away from possible consequences. That is what we are doing as Jubilee, reforming our electoral laws to avoid the repeat poll from any possible invalidation. This must be viewed from positive prism. We also want to point out to the countries whose envoys are imploring on us to observe best practices, have never had an experience of an invalidated presidential election. We doubt they have a measure of the best practice they would want us to emulate from them on this front. We can only set that precedence of best practices for other democracies. So we would like to say that the best practice is for our constitutional mandates to be respected as we implement them, that the voters who sent us here and have faith in us to be respected by every institution and every party. However, we do thank the diplomats who care about our country, continue wishing us well. Kenya is living in extraordinary times. We want nothing more than our country to be at peace and to be prosperous. This is what informs our support for the proposed amendments. Thank you.
Hamjamboni tena wanahabari. Tunawashukuru sana kwa kuweza kujiunga na sisi wakati huu. Hao mnaowaona mbele yenu ni wajumbe waliochaguliwa kutoka eneo mbalimbali hapa nchini, na ujumbe ambao wameusoma kwa Kiingereza kwa ufupi ni kwamba kunao wajumbe, baadhi ya wajumbe ambao wanatambua kwamba wamechaguliwa kutoka eneo zao kila mahali hapa nchini, na wana jukumu la kujenga na kutengeneza sheria hapa bungeni. Hawa wajumbe ambao wanatambua hivyo wako bungeni, wanabuni sheria, wanafanya kazi yao bungeni na kuhakikisha kwamba sheria hizi zinapita. Kwa wakati huu nchi yetu inajipata katika wakati mgumu sana wa kisiasa na hata kisheria. Ndio kwa maana wengine wetu tukawasilisha.
That press conference there happening at Parliament buildings, where Jubilee members of Parliament have issued their statement that they are trying to push the diplomatic community to not only remain objective, but also they did mention that the diplomatic community cannot lecture Kenya on how it can conduct its electoral law amendments. And we've heard there from various members of Parliament just trying to push for the agenda that issue needs not to get any